Hey everybody, it's Pastor G with Girt Enterprises right here in Indianapolis. One of the biggest misconceptions I hear from people all of the time is that great video is all about the camera. Now, the cameras are important. People spend thousands and thousands of dollars on equipment thinking that what's going to make it look professional and make your content look amazing is just the camera. But the truth is that the camera is only part of the process. It just captures the footage. The real magic happens in the editing bay. That's where stories are shaped. That's where emotion is created. That's where audio is cleaned up, colors are enhanced, distractions are removed, and a collection of clips becomes something people actually want to watch and stay engaged with. Today, I want to show you exactly what I mean by that and why editing may be the most important part of the entire production process. Let's go through some examples of what I'm talking about. I'm going to talk about how we set up the file structure, how we collect the files, and then how we use the files that we've collected in order to edit them into a piece that somebody wants to watch, or a piece that can be displayed somewhere. I mean, some of the videos we do end up on YouTube, some of them end up on social media, some of them end up on video screens at large events. And so we've had videos that we've produced where we've collected footage, we've collected assets, we've collected graphics, we've organized all of that, and then we've produced pieces that have been on large screens like at, the football coliseums, here in Indianapolis. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a second as I slide to this piece, and you see the folder, and we've got, let's see, 3 projects we're going to talk about. Let's start with the first one. This is a self-promotional piece, so we'll start with Girt Enterprises. One of the first things you'll notice, this is the Final Cut file, which is the finished file that is generated from the editing software that we use. Now, whether that software is Premiere or DaVinci or whatever you use, Avid, whatever software you use, you're going to end up with a file that contains all of the information to your video edit. Most of the time, these files end up being pretty large, and so even though you can put multiple projects in one file, you have to be cognizant of the size of that file. This file, if I get information, is still calculating. So that gives you an idea right there that this is a pretty big file, okay? Because it's still calculating. So we're just gonna leave that there. Anyway, the other thing that I hope you'll notice right off is that this folder has folders within it that are to some degree structured. Number one, you'll see a folder that has B-roll in it, and this is just video clips, just different video clips that I've shot or that I'm using for the actual video piece. So these are things that I've shot and I'm going to use in the piece. Some of this was shot with a cell phone because I knew it was going to social media. It didn't have to be high resolution. So again, as we talked about earlier, the camera, not necessarily as important as understanding how you're going to edit it and what it's going to be used for. These were generated right outside of Ecamm. So this is some more B-roll that we're going to use in our edit. Here's some other angles where I set the phone in a different place. And again, just B-roll. If you don't know what B-roll is, just think of the video that I'm doing right now with my face would be considered A-roll. Any complementary footage that I put over top of me would be considered B-roll. So A-roll is your main character. A-roll is is the strong angle. It's typically screen center. That's your A-roll. And then your B-roll is anything that complements that. Now you also see that I have a folder that is called photos. And what is that? That's exactly what it says. It's photos of different events and activities and projects that we've worked on, live events, just a lot of different, part of our processes. Again, you see this shows our banners that we've done, the logo wall that we did, and you'll also see up on the wall in the video that we're responsible for, okay? I didn't shoot that, so that technically should be in the B-roll side, but it's in the photos. So some more photos of us in the football stadium that we did an event at. This is the NCAA international headquarters where we did this event. So that's all these are, just photos, and they're organized in a folder called photos. You're going to see here in a minute why this is so important. Then you've got graphics. Graphics are things that we typically like logos, or the reason why I have photos in here are because these are photos that I've manipulated in some way. I've cleaned up, gotten rid of the background of both of these photos, and so they're in the graphics photo. But normally you'll see in some other projects, you'll see that in the graphics folder, I'm going to have, again, logos, artwork, vector files, all kinds of, things that they're not photos necessarily, but they may be manipulated photos if they are photos. But for the most part, you'll see here in another piece the other types of files you might have in a graphics folder. Then I have my music and FSX, which stands for sound effects. Okay, and so this is where we have gone into one of our applications that we use, which is called Epidemic Sound, and we've downloaded music that we intend to use. Okay, that gives you an idea there. Okay, and then this
the production
is the voiceover. Okay,
production excellence.
So that's the voiceover, and all that's going into my music and sound effects folder. These other folders, the Final Cut Optimized Media, the Final Cut Original Media, these are folders that Final Cut creates. These two folders are created by Final Cut, and we don't typically mess with those. They're just something that Final Cut does, right? And we don't touch them. These are the folders that are important to us. Okay, so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna select these and make these blue. All right, this is us. All right, now what I'm going to show you here in a second is how we use all of these different assets, okay, in these different folders to create this.
What you see on stage is only the final moment. What you don't see is the precision, planning, production excellence required to make every Stewart Speakers event world class.
Now you probably see from this video a lot of the elements that I just showed you in the other photo, right? So you probably see, a lot of things baked in that final video. So, all right, now let's open up the actual Final Cut project, and then you're going to see, okay, so what you're seeing here is you're seeing these offline files, because I haven't used this in a long time. So what this is doing is it's telling me that there are some files that are missing. So what I can do is I can select Command A to select everything, okay? All these references within this search window, and I go up to File, down to Relink File, go to Original Media, and then what it does is it gives me this window that shows me everything that's missing, and then it gives me the ability to find whatever those things are. Now, I may do this, I may not, I don't know if we got time to do all that, but basically I can select Erica, right? I can hit locate, and the greatest thing about this is that it tells you where the last time that graphic was located. So it says it was on the Girt Enterprises LLC folder inside my disk X10 Pro, Girt Enterprise LLC. It was in Girt Production Photos, and then here's the name of the photo. So basically, all I got to do is just search for that disk. Where'd it go? Girt Enterprise LLC. Double click that. Then it tells me to go to Girt Photos, which is right here, and then I look for 1920 1080 Erica Alexander screen graphic. Right, so I now look for 1920 Actually, I could just type it in 1920. All right, here it is, and it popped right up. All right, so now we have the promo up on the screen. I'll turn that off because we don't need to hear that. And so you'll notice that there are multiple layers in this video. There's our base layer, which is this layer right here. Everything that's on this layer here are kind of, basically the main graphics that we're using, okay, are all on this layer. And any additional B-roll or any additional graphics or any additional text is going to be layered on top. As you can see here, there's some here, some things are missing, but that's okay. Here, these are, and you'll notice as I go through here, you'll see when things start. So you see here is beginning animation, and then when we get here, I've added a flicker, okay, effect to this, and then I've added, if you look here on the screen, there's a little burn or leak here in this corner right here, okay, and that's created by these other layers I have on top of there. You'll notice that, underneath here are all these different photos that we showed you from the folders. They're all here, okay, and then there's videos in here from the videos that I showed you before, okay, more photos, more video. Sometimes I add these effects on top, especially on top of photos, so that the photos, even though the photo is static, because I have things happening like this is dirt, it's like what they call film dirt that's going on over top of that. And so that zooming in, the dirt on it, the flare, the flickers and all that give more activity to a static image. Here you have the bass track. Now, what's interesting is that I have a bass track that has a bunch of photos that are just popping off. Photo, right? And then above that, I have a background color that has been applied, so that I can put my other information over top of these background images, and my information over top will stand out over and against what's happening here in the background, okay? Now, let's go back one step. Now that I've shown you the timeline and everything that's happening on the timeline, okay, again, you see I've got text that's scrolling over top of, that's what these layers are doing here. Let me go so you can see. Okay, I got all this stuff happening over top of the video. Okay, now you see how first things first, we create our folder structure, right? Again, these aren't here at the beginning. Final Cut creates those. Wherever I put a project, it creates these folders. So just let that go. But we created these, okay? It would have been better if I created these and all these others in here that you see. But these are the ones that I created. I selected them all, and then I drug them over here on top of 2826, let it go, and then it dropped all of those folders as keywords, and inside those folders, those keywords, are all of the files that were in the folder. And then I begin to edit. Okay, then I begin to edit. All right, the last project we're gonna look at is Stewart Speakers. It's one of our other clients that we do a lot of work for, and they brought in a young lady by the name of Soledad O'Brien. Okay, that's her. Many of y'all are familiar with her. She's a former CNN journalist, and now she owns her own organization and does a lot of work. So for this project, again, like I mentioned to y'all before, I'm not just a videographer, I'm also a designer. So I use AI to create this woman in the background. I used Canva, which is another tool that I use. So if I open this up, okay, you'll see her graphics, right? I used Canva to animate that. I didn't even use Final Cut for these animations because most of the information was right in here. You see, we also had Eric Alexander, but all these graphics were inside of Canva, which is where I pulled this together. And then I exported out these individual graphics and brought them into these folders so that I would have all of her images cleaned. See, I did this and I cleaned out the background. I did that in Canva. I added the shadow to her. I did that in Canva. I did another one just so I have some options of her. Okay. And then I also had some other photos of her that we were using for this piece, right? So there's her photos. I also had news footage of her, right? Because I needed that. This is a documentary that she produced. Okay. Called The Perfect Neighbor, which is a wonderful documentary. We also have some other journalistic things that she's done in the past. We needed that for her project.
Diversity.
Okay, so that's that.
Because renters are living on
Okay, there it is. I used this. I ended up pulling this from my cell phone because I wasn't able to download it from YouTube the way I
Everybody thinks
wanted
they
to.
know the story of Rosa Parks.
Okay, here's another project that she did. All right, and so this is in the news photo. And as y'all know, these are organized in such a way that I can bring them into Final Cut when I'm ready, and they'll stay organized for me. Okay, again, these are graphics that came right out of Canva. So I have these ready to go as I need them. Logos, backgrounds, all this is graphic design. Okay. And there's some animation that I did inside Canva. Okay. Isn't that amazing? Okay. Now, let's see. What are these? These are photos. Okay. So I have some photos that we're going to use for the project that we're doing. So here's some photos that we have. All right. Nothing major. I think these are more photos. Yep. They're more photos of her being interviewed. Okay. And again, this is an event that we produced. You'll see our work and our staff all over the venue. You see that's our work up in the corner. Again, this is the slides, the design. There's video going on up here that we produce inside Final Cut. Just a lot going on. We just, we do a lot. So it is what it is. Okay. All right. So, and these are the Q&A that happened. And again, our folks are typically all over the venue making sure that these things happen. All right. So there's more photos in that folder. Couple logos that I had, and again I left those out probably because I only had 2 photos to deal with. For this one, not only did we produce this video, and you'll probably notice the drone video of the city in the background. You know where I got that from.
I may not be the prettiest,
photos,
I may not be the best, but I will tell you,
the graphics.
I will absolutely.
And then this is from some of the video footage that we downloaded from her. Okay, a lot going on. I know this is that cleaned up Canva, cleaned up from Canva. You notice I matched the font color with her dress.
And thinking like my questions would be as bad as those. Why I should be a reporter? I mean,
now there's one other thing that's going on here. You notice that in the graphics there was smoke, and in the video there's smoke. Now, what I had to do was I used Canva again because Canva has a lot of things that are available inside of Canva that can help you get the job done. So I used Canva for the still, this smoke right here, right? And then I also found inside Canva the smoke that I needed for down here, okay? Because I gotta make it consistent. Gotta make everything consistent, all right? And remember, this lady was made in AI. She was generated in AI. I exported out a high resolution image of her from AI, and there you go. There you have it. So that's how we did that. Now we also created a vertical version of that, okay? This was done in Final Cut as well. So we did two versions. We did the version that's horizontal for the screens, and then we did the version for people's cell phones or for mobile devices.
Positively outwork you.
Okay, you see the drone footage up at top. Okay, animated text here at the bottom. Nothing special, but there's just 3 things going on. All right, there that is. Now, if I open up this, let's see what we get. What's going to be broken? All right, yeah, there's a lot of stuff broken. And it's broken because I don't, once I get a project done and I start working on something else, oftentimes things do get broken. That's it. We talked about the file structure. We talked about putting the folders together. We talked about what we put in the folders. I even showed you my tool stack of the different tools I use to gather things. Now, as you can see, the difference between good footage and great content often comes down to what happens in the editing process. The camera captures the moment, but editing creates the experience. Whether you're producing a documentary, creating social media content, building a podcast, highlighting an athlete, or telling the story of your organization, editing is where your message truly comes to life. I hope this gave you a better understanding of why the editing process is so important and how it can completely transform the way your audience experiences your content. If you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you too don't miss future videos on multimedia production, storytelling, content creation, and communication strategy. Now, I'm Pastor G with Girt Enterprises, and I thank you for watching. And I'll see you next time. Peace.